0.96 pounds. That's what my first 2 lettuce harvests weighed. Basically the equivalent of 1 large clamshell you would get from the grocery store. And I'm chasing 650 pounds of food this season. So today I wanted to show you the harvests and the meals I made with them, because even though the harvests are small, they made real meals, and more than I expected. This lettuce went into the ground about 2 weeks ago, and it's finally time to collect the first harvest of the season. I like to harvest my lettuce by picking the outer leaves and leaving the center of the plant to continue growing. This allows me to pick lettuce over a couple months instead of having all the lettuce ready at once. It also acts like pruning, encouraging strong new growth and giving me more fresh lettuce. I also find that the leaves are cleaner and bug-free with this harvesting method because they stay off the ground and out of contact with the soil and bugs. This first harvest is particularly satisfying because my lettuce seedlings are a little crazy looking, with some of the plants much larger than others, and this harvest is reducing the size of the larger plants while making the whole lettuce patch look much more even and pretty. This will continue to improve with future harvesting. It's so exciting to see the first bowl of the season filling up with the colorful lettuce. The feeling of garden harvesting and fresh eating coming back into season after this never-ending winter. After harvesting, I like to give the lettuce a good drink to make sure they are well hydrated to keep up their good work. In the kitchen, it's time to see how much this first picking of lettuce yielded. I measure all my harvests using a kitchen scale. We got about 0.19 pounds of lettuce, which is the equivalent to half a small clamshell of lettuce you'd find in the grocery store. It's not a huge amount yet, but every harvest counts towards my goal of growing 650 pounds of food this year. The only meal that felt worthy of this first harvest of lettuce was chicken Caesar tacos, a family favorite. I love making homemade soft taco shells. They are filling, fun to make, and honestly make this meal feel a little bit more special. What could be a pretty basic dinner turns into something I get asked to make again and again during lettuce season. The filling is simple: fresh chopped lettuce, diced chicken, and a generous amount of Caesar dressing. My favorite is the Renee's Mighty Caesar from the refrigerated produce section. If I had some on hand, I'd also add some Parmesan cheese as well. It's such a simple dinner, but it always hits the spot. And honestly, these are the types of meals that make all this spring work in the garden feel worth it. We're just getting started with this harvest season. If you would like to follow along and see what the garden actually produces to feed us, please be sure to subscribe. And with another warm week of weather ahead of us, the lettuce wasn't slowing down. About a week later, with some good spring heat, the lettuce has exploded in growth. When we look at where the first harvest ended to where the lettuce is now, the growth is amazing. I'm expecting a much higher yield this time around. You can see that after the harvest is complete, the patch is much more uniform. We aren't dealing with huge plants versus tiny ones as much anymore. I had to break out the big bowl for this harvest. I'm expecting a bowl of this size filled with lettuce at least once a week, if not sooner. I like to wait until the plants are touching again before I harvest. This planting of 24 lettuce plants should hold strong until late June, early July. Then I'll need to replant with a lettuce variety that can handle our summer heat. I was worried when I planted out these seedlings that the larger ones would bolt and go to seed, so I started some backup seedlings. But now that this lettuce patch is doing so well, I don't necessarily want to throw those backup seedlings away. So this gave me the chance to experiment with a challenging part of my yard. I have this spot that is pretty much full shade, and the only thing I seem to be able to grow here is weeds. I thought about planting some shade-loving perennials with leaves a different color to make the spot look more presentable. But then I thought, well, my lettuce is beautiful and colorful, and bonus, we can eat it. I see lettuce listed again and again on crops that grow well in the shade, so I thought I would put it to the test and plant the backup seedlings there. I also see crops like broccoli and cabbage on these lists, so I planted some behind my lettuce to put them to the test as well. My hypothesis is that the broccoli will produce heads, but they will be smaller than the ones that are growing in full sun in my main garden. The cabbage will produce a head, but it'll be very loose and it'll have a big core in the middle. The lettuce will produce, but the colors won't be as vibrant and the yield won't be as productive as the ones that are growing in more sun. But the lettuce might be able to withstand more of our summer heat due to the cooling nature of the shade. With these harvests getting bigger, it was time to get serious about storing it so that it'll last all week, and this starts by soaking. While I try to harvest lettuce in the morning, I still like to give it a little soak in cool water. I find it helps to lock in the lettuce's crunchy ribs. Then I give the lettuce a good swish to remove any dirt. Now, the most important part of getting lettuce to stay good all week is to get it really dry. I start by draining all the water from the bowl. Then I get to spinning that lettuce in the salad spinner. You'll want to stop and dump the water that's coming off during this process. I like to add a piece of paper towel on the bottom of the container to help soak up any moisture that may have been missed. This harvest totals about half a pound, the equivalent of a large clamshell that you would find at the grocery store. After getting all that lettuce cleaned and packed away, it was time to start enjoying this bigger harvest. One of our go-tos is taco salad. To our bed of lettuce, I added some shredded cheddar cheese, ground beef seasoned with some taco seasoning, and a Catalina salad dressing. I gave it all a good toss before topping it off with some toasted tortilla strips. It's another really simple meal, and honestly, that's what I love about growing lettuce. It slips so easy into everyday dinners and turns meals that we're already making into something fresher and feeling a little bit more special. And while these harvests may seem small, over the course of the season, week after week, they really start to add up. I think this is one of my favorite stages of the gardening season. The harvests are still small and manageable, but the garden is becoming part of everyday life again. After months of planning, seed starting, and waiting and wondering if anything will grow, we're finally at the point where I can walk into the garden, harvest something fresh, and put together a dinner using it a few hours later. When I set this goal of growing 650 pounds of food from this small yard, this is exactly what I pictured. Not a bunch of huge harvests, but little harvests that stacked over time and become part of our everyday routine. A bowl of lettuce for taco night, a salad with dinner, handfuls thrown into sandwiches, it all counts. And honestly, the smaller harvests are the ones that change the way we eat the most because they are the easiest to use up. This is also exciting because this is just the beginning of harvesting. Radishes and arugula is up next, and I have bumblebee. And I already have plans for them. I want to make one of our favorite homemade pizzas topped with some fresh arugula, and I have an idea for a fun breakfast that I can't wait to share. The garden has finally woke up and harvest season is here.